Welcome everyone to the channel, Insane Criminal Cases. We will tell you about the shocking criminal cases in the world. The topic of today's video will definitely interest you. Now let's find out. The corruption case involving Xu Qidiao, the former director of the Jiangsu Provincial Construction Department, has sent shockwaves throughout China and beyond. Xu's actions became notorious, not just for the staggering sums of money he embezzled but also for the shocking personal details that emerged. He allegedly maintained relationships with 146 mistresses. In the case of Xu Qidiao, investigators reported that he embezzled and accumulated a fortune through corruption, totaling an estimated 400 million yuan, around $62 million USD. Although the precise figures remain partially undisclosed for confidentiality reasons, this substantial sum includes cash, luxury real estate, personal assets, and hidden overseas investments. Xu Qidiao amassed a sprawling and complex network of assets, including real estate. He owned dozens of apartments, villas, and land parcels across major cities. Many of these properties were registered under the names of subordinates and trusted companies to avoid detection. Cash and liquid assets. Xu reportedly stored large amounts of cash and gold bullion in safes hidden at multiple locations. Offshore bank accounts. Evidence suggests that he transferred substantial sums to offshore accounts, particularly in Hong Kong and Singapore, as a strategy to shield his wealth from investigations. Luxury vehicles and high-end goods. Xu's personal assets included luxury cars, expensive watches, fine art, and other valuables, with a total worth estimated in the millions of dollars. Xu Qidiao began his career as a promising figure in the provincial government, rising through the ranks of Jiangsu's bureaucratic system. Initially, he was celebrated as a reformist voice, someone who could spearhead development projects and manage resources to benefit the region's rapidly urbanizing population. However, beneath this promising exterior, Xu's ambitions grew darker. Over the years, he gradually cultivated a network of associates who helped him divert state funds for personal gain. The scale of his corruption was immense, as Xu managed to siphon off millions, hiding his wealth in properties, overseas accounts, and luxury items. Xu Qidiao's corruption schemes went far beyond simple bribes or isolated incidents. He built an entire network of illicit financial activities, weaving himself into the infrastructure of Jiangsu's construction industry to divert public funds for his own benefit. Xu's schemes included manipulating construction contracts, skimming off public project funds, and leveraging his position to pressure companies into paying him bribes under the guise of consultation fees or administrative charges. His actions ultimately drained public resources meant to improve infrastructure, public housing, and urban development, and redirected those funds toward his own lavish lifestyle and extensive network of mistresses. The embezzlement tactics. Xu Qidiao's methods of embezzlement were sophisticated and multi-layered, reflecting both his intelligence and his abuse of power. One of his primary tactics involved manipulating the bidding process for construction projects. Xu would often award contracts to companies that agreed to pay him a hefty kickback, sometimes as high as 20 to 30% of the project's value. These funds were transferred through shell companies that he controlled, making it difficult for authorities to detect the illegal transactions. Through these kickbacks, Xu was able to amass millions in unreported wealth. Additionally, Xu misappropriated funds by inflating the budgets for public works projects, only to siphon off the surplus for his personal gain. For instance, a project slated to build affordable housing in an urban area of Jiangsu might have its budget inflated by millions of yuan. Xu would pocket the difference, leading to substandard construction or even the stalling of projects due to lack of funds. This tactic not only allowed him to enrich himself but also had devastating consequences on the community, as citizens were deprived of the infrastructure and housing promised by the government. Beyond the financial manipulation, Xu exploited his authority to instill fear and secure loyalty from lower-ranking officials and business leaders. He accepted substantial bribes from companies looking to expand within Jiangsu, particularly in high-value construction zones. In return, he promised business leaders favorable regulations and quick permits, often bending or outright ignoring legal guidelines. This bribery system solidified his control over the province's construction sector, creating a shadow economy where Xu and his close associates profited at the public's expense. To cover his tracks, Xu utilized various intermediaries, including family members and close associates, to act as bagmen, transferring bribes through unofficial channels and hiding assets in foreign bank accounts. These transactions were meticulously planned to evade detection, underscoring his calculated approach to corruption. Xu's influence grew so extensive that even minor officials and local bureaucrats became complicit, fearing retaliation if they refused to comply with his demands. In essence, Xu constructed a pyramid of corruption, with himself at the top, shielded by layers of bribery and fear. The scandal of the 146 mistresses. One of the most shocking aspects of Xu's story was his personal life, which came under public scrutiny during the investigation. Reports surfaced that Xu had relationships with 146 women, each of whom received financial support, gifts, and sometimes even luxury apartments. Investigators discovered that he used funds intended for public projects to support his mistresses, covering costs that included rent, luxury vacations, and high-end clothing. The sheer scale of his romantic escapades underscored the degree of excess and moral disregard that defined his lifestyle. The revelations about Xu's mistresses became a symbol of his betrayal of public trust. People across China were outraged at how their tax money, meant to improve society, had instead funded the lavish lives of Xu's romantic partners. The scandal highlighted not just personal failings but a broader critique of unchecked power within the bureaucratic system. Public anger intensified as more details emerged, revealing that some of Xu's mistresses were directly involved in his business dealings, acting as intermediaries in the transfer of bribes or using their relationships with Xu to further their own business interests. The consequences for Xu Qidiao. The investigation led to Xu Qidiao's downfall, with authorities uncovering his vast network of illicit activities and assets. He was swiftly removed from his position, and as the scope of his crimes became apparent, legal charges followed. Xu faced a multitude of charges, including embezzlement, bribery, abuse of power, and even charges related to the misuse of public funds to support his mistresses. The judicial process was swift, as Xu's case became a high-profile example of anti-corruption efforts within China. In court, Xu Qidiao was sentenced to life imprisonment. The ruling reflected the severity of his actions and served as a warning to others within the government who might be tempted by corruption. Xu's assets, including properties, luxury cars, and bank accounts, were seized by the state, and some of the funds were directed back to the Jiangsu provincial government in an effort to repair the damage caused by his corruption. The aftermath and public reactions. The Xu Qidiao case sent shockwaves throughout China and led to widespread public outrage. Citizens expressed anger and frustration over how someone in such a trusted position could exploit his power so egregiously. Xu's actions became a focal point in national discussions about corruption, accountability, and the need for systemic reforms within government structures. His scandal reinforced public distrust toward officials, and many demanded stricter oversight and transparency in government operations. The central government responded by launching broader investigations into provincial officials and tightening regulations within the construction industry. Xu's case became a symbol of the dangers of unchecked power, and authorities sought to use it as a lesson in ethics and accountability for government officials across the country. His downfall also served as a catalyst for renewed efforts to root out corruption at all levels of government. In the end, Xu Qidiao's legacy is one of betrayal and corruption. His fall from grace illustrated the perils of absolute power and underscored the necessity for integrity within public service. The case serves as a reminder that officials who exploit public resources for personal gain not only undermine the trust of the people but also risk facing the full weight of the law. Xu's story remains a cautionary tale of how personal ambition, unchecked by accountability, can lead to ruin, not just for the individual but for the society they are supposed to serve. Thank you for watching our video. Insane criminal cases. Chanel hopes you have had great entertainment moments. Wish you all the best.